Woman's unexpected swelling reveals something other than a pregnancy. Everything started in 2014 when Keely Favell, a 28-year healthy woman from Wales, noticed that everything in her wardrobe started fitting a little tighter than usual. Some clothes wouldn't even fit at all. Thinking that it was just a few pounds she gained, she started working out and paying close attention to what she was eating, but the pounds just kept piling on. I couldn't understand it. I was exercising and eating healthily, she told the Daily Mail, but I was slowly getting bigger and bigger. Despite all Keely's efforts to lose weight and get her healthy body, she kept getting bigger at a scary pace. A few months after her sudden weight gain, her belly started to swell, and her boyfriend, Jamie, wondered if she was pregnant, as the way her belly was swelling only coincided with pregnancy. Keely decided to see for herself and got an at-home pregnancy test. If she were pregnant, she thought, her unusual situation could be explained. She never thought that her weight gain required serious medical care. She gained a few excessive pounds for sure, but who doesn't in their 20s? But her situation wasn't what most girls go through in their 20s, as she would later find out. Just as she began adjusting and accepting her new body shape, another worrying symptom appeared. One day, Keely, during her work as an office administrator, started feeling a little light, headed for no apparent reason. She tried to ignore the feeling, thinking it would pass, and carried on with her work. Before she could get hold of what was happening, she lost consciousness and fell to the floor. After her blackout, Keely knew it was about time. She held her courage in both hands and went to seek medical care. She called her doctor's office to make an appointment with her general practitioner. Her general practitioner focused on Keely's stress levels at the office. She explained that she was going through a tough time at work, which her doctor claimed to be the cause of her recent health struggles. All she needed, her doctor said, was to learn how to handle her stress and cope with working under stressful situations. Her doctor's answer made her even more frustrated. She knew that things weren't going as smoothly as she hoped at work, but she found it hard to believe that stress on its own could be causing her belly to swell like that of a pregnant woman in her second trimester. The very odd thing about the whole weight gain situation was that she only gained weight in her abdomen region. None of her clothes fit her anymore, and it was beginning to make her life miserable. Everyone, including her friends, began to ask her when her baby was due. Keely, embarrassed by her recent weight gain and unsure about what was causing it, did not want to make anyone feel uncomfortable and even started pretending she was indeed expecting a baby who was due in few weeks only, judging by the swelling of her belly. "It was so embarrassing trying to explain that I was, or so I thought, fat," Keely said. "I just go along with it to spare everyone else the blushes." By Christmas 2016, Keely became a size 22 after she was a fit 14. She was skin and bones in her shoulders and chest, followed by an enormous lump in the middle. The only part of her body that remained normal were her legs and thighs. A few short weeks later, Keely passed out again. This time, the stress at the office subsided, and she knew her doctor would have to find another explanation for her health problems. Her practitioner asked for blood tests to figure out what was going on with her body that didn't seem to go back to normal. On the contrary, it kept getting worse for no apparent reason. Oddly enough, her blood results came back clear. This time, her doctor found yet another excuse for her fainting. He told Keely that it was nothing but a side effect of acne pills she was prescribed a while back, which of course didn't make any sense at all. Keely had stopped taking those pills 6 months prior. For the second time in a row, her general practitioner did not perform an examination, nor did she seem to notice Keely's belly. Visibly irritated, Keely unzipped her winter coat, pointed to her stomach, and asked her doctor if the fainting spells were related to such odd weight gain in one particular region. How could acne pills make her belly look like that of a pregnant woman? Unsurprisingly enough, her doctor insisted that Keely must be pregnant, even though her blood test had already ruled it out. Keely knew deep down that her doctor was mistaken, and she was not actually pregnant. She had already taken the pregnancy test many times at home besides. She had been waddling around like a pregnant woman for 2 years at this point. Her general practitioner kept on insisting that Keely was pregnant and sent her for an ultrasound at the local hospital. Keely, frustrated more than ever, decided to follow her doctor's opinion and go to the hospital nevertheless. Her boyfriend, who was as frustrated as she was, accompanied her on her journey to unveiling the mystery of her odd belly. Keely's name was finally called. She was finally about to have her answer, or so she thought. She lay down on the examination table, and the radiologist began to move the probe over her swollen stomach. However, instead of seeing a heartening image of a baby, it was blank. The radiologist kept moving the probe around, thinking that it was nothing more than a technical glitch, but nothing appeared on the screen. He kept on moving, trying to spot something at least, and that's when the radiologist's eyes began to widen. Keely knew something was wrong. The radiologist put down the probe and told Keely that he needed to leave to go get a consultant. Things were serious, and Keely started to panic. When the radiologist came back with the consultant, he took a look at her stomach and then back at the ominous black screen, and immediately sent her for an emergency CT scan. After the CT scan, Keely and her boyfriend went back home, anxiously waiting for the results. When the consultant called Keely a few days later, he informed the couple that the swelling and extra weight was actually due to a 25-centimeter thick sac of fluid in her stomach. Despite knowing what was causing the swelling, the doctor wasn't sure of the nature of the sac of fluid or what it was caused by. He then sent her to an obstetrics consultant for further examination. Keely and her boyfriend, Jamie, were going through this alone as Keely's parents were working overseas in Australia. She didn't see the worth of bothering them with her health issues, as there was nothing they could do from 10,000 miles away. But as her health deteriorated, Keely realized that it was time he let her parents know what was going on with her life, especially if it turned out more serious than they thought. Keely decided to call her mother, Rachel, who hopped on the first plane to Wales. As soon as she saw Keely, Rachel burst into tears. It had been almost 6 months since Rachel saw her daughter, and the physical change Keely went through during that short amount of time was shocking, to say the least. A few days after getting her results from her emergency CT scan, Keely went to see a high-risk OB-GYN. As he began the examination, a look of shock took over his face, a look Keely said she will never ever forget. The doctor told her that she had a large ovarian mass, and because of its huge size, her only option at this point was to have an urgent surgery to ablate it. Her doctor told her that he wasn't sure of the nature of the mass in her abdomen nor of its actual size. They would discover that during the surgery. He also warned her that there might be more than one individual mass, with a high possibility they could be attached to her other organs. If this were the case, the doctor warned, her surgery would be more complicated and even life-threatening. With no other options, Keely agreed to the surgery. Although Keely's case was classified as an emergency, her high-risk OB-GYN could not schedule her operation for another 4 weeks. During this time, Keely's belly swelled another excruciating 5 inches, which was the fastest her stomach had grown since her health problems started almost 3 years before. After anxiously waiting for nearly a month, the day finally arrived for Keely's surgery. With her mom Rachel and boyfriend Jamie in town, Keely headed to Swansea Singleton Hospital to finally get answers on what's been tormenting her existence for almost 4 years. Because the doctor didn't know what he was going to find until he performed the surgery, Keely felt as though she was signing her life away. Not that she had any other choice. What her doctor hoped would be a routine, 1-hour-long operation turned into an almost 5-hour-long delicate procedure. When the surgeon opened Keely up, he found one giant ovarian cyst of 57 pounds. Keely's doctors were amazed at the mass. No one at the hospital has ever seen a cyst of such size. The mass they extracted from her abdomen weighed the same as septuplets, or an 8-year-old child. Keely was living with the weight of an 8-year-old child in her belly for several months, a suffering that finally ended. Keely remembered waking up while the nurse wheeled her back to the recovery ward. She was still a bit dizzy from the anesthetic, but still vaguely remembers the excited hospital staff showing her pictures of the 57-pound cyst that had been removed from her ovaries only a few hours earlier. Then they explained how big this cyst was and showed me the pictures. Keely explained to the Daily Mail, "I couldn't believe I've been walking around for so long carrying this medical alien." After going through a 5-hour-long operation, Keely was happy to be rid of her ovarian cyst. Even though the surgery left Keely with a 30-centimeter scar running from her sternum down to her pelvis, destroying her right ovary, the procedure was worth it. It was a sacrifice that she had to make to save her life, one she didn't know was endangered in the first place. Thankfully, this didn't affect her fertility chances, and she could be a mother just like any other woman with intact ovaries. Soon after the operation, Keely was back on her feet and was discharged from the hospital only 4 days after her surgery. Ovarian cysts are a very common condition among young women. They are due to the development of sacs filled with fluid inside a woman's ovaries. Ovarian cysts are usually asymptomatic and go away without being noticed. However, if they are not examined by a doctor, they have the potential to grow at an extreme rate and become lethal if not treated in time. Symptoms of an ovarian cyst include a change in periods, pain during intercourse, frequent urination, pelvic pain, and bloating. Most cysts are benign, non-cancerous, but some can be malignant, cancerous, especially for women who have already gone through menopause. There are 2 main types of ovarian cysts: functioning cysts and pathological cysts. Functioning cysts, which are the most common type, develop during a woman's menstrual cycle. They are typically harmless and usually disappear on their own, sometimes without even being noticed. Pathological cysts, however, are much less common. They form from abnormal cell growth and can be much more dangerous.